Okay, so what you have to do is, from this point, all the wonderful things that you just mentioned to me, you have to do, you have to practice, and you have to gain information about whatever it is that you want to do. You know, each thing that you choose to do, you have to gather knowledge and information at a place like this, library. You know what I mean? There's a lot of valuable information, and now we have the internet. So there's a lot of ways that you can educate yourself on whatever it is that you like to do. Yeah. Now, you said there was something that you wanted to mention?
Oh, about the mentoring.
Yeah.
As we said, there's a lot of potential mentors out there. I think so many young people expect the mentor to really take their hand and lead them.
Beyonce books? I like Beyonce.
Okay, thank you. So
quite a few others.
But I don't read Beyonce books. I like to shake my booty with Beyonce.
Well, you're gonna be a good reader. You're gonna be a good reader. You wanted us to laugh. Okay. But you're gonna be a good reader. I know it. Okay.
I'm just a beaver.
Okay, can we give him a chance to go now? Thank you, Bryson.
Thank you.
My name is Matt Cortine, and I like to read nonfiction books, particularly about baseball.
Oh,
and what fan are you?
I am a New York Mets fan.
Oh, you're like my dad.
Okay, so hopefully, I think we'll have something for everybody. Based on what you said.
On the tables are all types of books.
Do you like apple juice or cranberry?
That I have pictures of, black cowboys. This is James Pierce Beckworth. He was a mountain man. He was a chief of the Crow Indian tribe. He doesn't have a single drop of Indian blood in him, but the Indians made him their chief. They thought he was such a great warrior. Let's see if we can find a little more about him here. Okay, here he is. Here he is in the process of discovering. I use discovering in quotation marks because, of course, the Indians already knew where every place was in North America before the Europeans and Africans got here. But he's the first non-Indian to discover what's now called Beck, York, and then Chicago. But in Memphis, Tennessee, after the Civil War, they had a big problem with white people were killing black people for no good reason. So she started wearing pistols. And I've been asked by the Martin Luther King Institute for Nonviolence that I work for here, that we don't promote the use of firearms as a way of resolving disputes. We try to find peaceful ways. But she lived in a tough era. And there were a lot of people that wanted to kill her because she was publishing her own newspaper. She later went on to be one of the founders of the NAACP, and she did a lot of work with women's right to vote in later years. Here she is in a photo. Always thought he knew more than they did. So he was, to use a slang term, busted back down to Colonel Custer at the time he died. And Custer still thought he knew everything. His scouts, here are a couple of paid scouts. They're not soldiers. This is Isaiah Dorman on the left, gateway to the wild and lawless Oklahoma Territory. 14 different outlaws tried to kill Bass Reeves. That was the last mistake any of them ever made. What happened was he was never. His body was never touched by a bullet, although he was in many gunfights. He brought in maybe 1,000 different bandits or outlaws. once in a while, like he'd have a bullet hole in his belt buckle, his hat would get shot off, the reins, while he's steering his horse, were shot through one time, but no bullet ever touched him. He died of old age when the time came by. She had jobs, the Civil War came and went, and she was no longer on the run. There was no slavery in the way we know it, at least, after that. And so she got various jobs. She had a job hauling a freight wagon for a Catholic convent. And one night, her wagon broke down, and she was surrounded by a hungry wolf pack, excuse my voice, all them buffalo soldiers out of respect. What we have, this is Second Lieutenant Henry O. Flipper, the first African-American graduate from West Point Military Academy, leading members of the 10th Cavalry successfully into battle in Texas in 1880, despite being outnumbered 10-1 by Chief Victorio's Apaches, and is titled Flipper's Charge at Tinaja de los Palmos. Well, and down here is a picture, this one's a painting. Of course, you can't have a photographer out there in the desert. He would have been killed by the Indians right away. But down here is an actual photograph of the Buffalo Soldiers serving in Cuba. And the Buffalo Soldiers, even though they don't get credit for it, they charged up San Juan Hill along with Teddy Roosevelt and his Rough Riders. Roosevelt would later become president.